Welcome back to another episode of Inside the Inning, brought to you as always by Afterthought Sports. I'm Jack Haskell, joined alongside Gavin Watson. Welcome back.
I'm back. I'm back. I survived the illness. We're back and ready for the playoff push. I needed as the Yankees often do. I needed a Phantom IL stint just to kind of heal up a little bit before the playoffs. So maybe we'll talk about some guys who might be some Phantom IL suspects.
I'd say I'm at about 98% there, but we're getting there slowly but surely. The Bana plague just rips through everybody the first couple of weeks.
The baseball grind. It's every day. So you just gotta troop through here, and so.
Baseball grind is every day, so we grind every day. But
Exactly.
nonetheless, our first segment of the day, talking some Yankees baseball. Everybody's favorite Uber driver, J.C. Escarra, is officially back with the Yankees, but on the taxi squad. Not sure if we see him in these final few games of the regular season. I don't think we'd see him in the playoffs. I personally don't really want to see him in the playoffs.
I feel like this is probably just as simple as it gets of giving your guys some rest, giving your catchers some extra rest, giving Rice a day, giving your catchers a day off, giving Wells a day. Just, give them those days off before the playoffs. Give them, the division, yes, you want that bye. We saw Aaron Boone talk about that he wants that bye, because there's been the controversy of do you want the bye, do you not want the bye. Boone wants the bye, but we've heard him talk about that they still want the division. But I think if you're giving some of your star players some days off, especially the catcher position where you get beat up, or third base where you're getting hot shots hit over there every single day, I think give them the opportunity, give them a day off, and maybe that helps them in a playoff push.
Absolutely. Get some fresh legs out there. I mean, Ben Rice just caught Max Fried for the first time this entire season, and they seem to be comfortable enough, but just let Rice and Wells reset going into the postseason. I mean, Wells has been really good down the stretch defensively and offensively,
Yeah.
so just keep that going because Austin Wells is going to be a huge part of this postseason. We need him on his A game. We need one of the best defensive catchers back in his prime, but I've got high hopes. And speaking of the postseason, we have the official qualifications on how the Yankees can clinch not only the AL East, but the AL's number one seed on Sunday. Now, the Yankees can clinch that number one seed with wins today. Time of recording is September 27th, Saturday. Wins today and tomorrow against the Baltimore Orioles, and a loss by the Blue Jays either today or tomorrow versus Tampa Bay, or a win today and tomorrow for the Yankees versus Baltimore, and losses by the Blue Jays today and tomorrow.
So if the Yankees went out there, they clinch, or if the Jays went out there, they clinch?
I think if the Jays take one game, Yankees have to win out.
Okay.
If the Jays lose one game, I think the Yankees only have to win one.
Okay, all right. I mean,
Which
and then you get a bye.
for the Blue Jays having the tiebreaker, I'll absolutely take that.
Well, and I mean, for the Blue Jays to be able to even be in this position, I mean, when we were back here last semester, one of our final episodes, we were talking about, like, what the heck is going on with the Blue Jays? Like, they are in a state of disrepair. The whole Vladdy controversy was happening where he was liking stuff about different teams. And to see them now be competing for the AL East, if you would have told me on that day when we were like, what is going on? Like, they're going to fire the GM, they're going to fire the coach. I would have been shocked if you would have said, oh yeah, they're battling to lead the division at the end of the year. Like, that's crazy.
And they're going to have Shane Bieber this postseason too.
And Scherzer,
We've barely even seen Shane Bieber pitch for the Blue Jays.
Scherzer and Bieber are two of, like, the biggest big game pitchers out there. Like,
I don't know if you can count on Scherzer at this point in his career.
I mean, maybe not anymore, but he has, over his career, been the big game guy and has shown up in the playoffs. It's kind of taken, like you said, maybe a little bit of a downturn over the last few years, but definitely Dodgers and before era, he was a legit playoff pitcher, and he did a legit job in that 2019 World Series for the Nationals of getting them back out there and getting them that series.
And
So.
I think he absolutely could surprise some people
Mhm.
because at the end of the day, this is Max Scherzer we're talking about.
Yes.
First ballot Hall of Famer, and I think he realizes that the clock is winding down. Whether it's the end of this season,
Mhm.
whether it's next season, he knows that he doesn't have very much time left. So if he just goes out and just throws everything he's
Yeah.
got for 5, 6 innings, that's Max Scherzer.
And that's what you want out of him. You got a good bullpen back on the back end in Toronto with Jeff Hoffman backing up that bullpen. So you have a decent bullpen out there. So, yeah, I mean, this is going to be. I have to imagine there's going to be. I don't even know what the playoff scenario is, but these playoffs are going to be so much fun. Maybe this is the transition point into our next segment that's baseball. Talking about some of these teams and their playoff collapses and pushes. I mean, we could start off. I mean, the Yankees, Blue Jays. That's going to be a great playoff series, and then you flip the tide and Tigers, Guardians. I mean, that's been a crazy division to watch. The AL Central has been nuts. As of July 8th, the Detroit Tigers were the only team in the AL Central with a above 500 record, and they had a 15.5 game lead on the Guardians. Not only that, they had the best record in the game of baseball. They had 3 more wins than the Dodgers. Okay? Flash forward to September 4th. The Guardians were still 11 games back of the Detroit Tigers. But in September, they've gone 18-5. It's the best record in the league, and they've made a push. I mean, I went on the director's cut yesterday, which kind of talking about a similar topic here. I don't even know who it is. Is it Cleveland just had such a good push? Or did Detroit have one of the biggest... I mean, obviously Detroit had a big generational fumble if you lost a 16-game lead. But how much of it was just a perfect storm of Cleveland was hot at the right time and they weren't? Or was it, hey, Cleveland was going to storm back either way because they were hot?
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely talk about the Tigers' playoff collapse. I mean, you had the Tarek Skubal injury scare.
Mm-hmm.
Javi Baez's All-Star season has quieted down just
Yeah.
a bit in the second stretch. I mean, Riley Green's been great, first player this season to reach 100 RBI, but the Tigers, they're still a scary playoff team. I don't think you can count the Tigers out. But then with the Guardians, I mean, they've been on it. I mean, Jose Ramirez is quietly having an MVP season.
Yeah.
And he's not going to win the MVP,
the
which
crazy thing-
we'll get to who's going to win the MVP.
The crazy thing, too, about Jose Ramirez is if you look at the stats-wise, they're probably like a little bit down year over year of what we're used to with Jose Ramirez. But he's still so good. So it doesn't matter that it's like a tiny bit of like a stat. Like he's still one of the greatest players in the game of baseball right now. So it just doesn't matter. Like
J-Ram is probably third place in AL MVP if I just had to guess. I mean, you could argue Skubal, but he's already going to win Cy Young.
well, and you, like the thing too that I looked at and I was really like surprised about is you look at the Guardians. What did the Guardians do at the trade deadline? They didn't do anything.
Not much.
They traded Shane Bieber. They traded Paul Sewald. It's kind of it.
Which is unfortunate because as much as we're singing their praises, they do have a glaring hole at the catching position.
As well as this is a team like I just think it's so impressive what the Guardians are doing. Small market team. Stephen Vogt in his second year as a manager in the big leagues. Obviously he was a catcher. I mean that goes into that, but he's doing. Stephen Vogt is managing this team after they sold at the deadline, as well as losing 2 of your better pitchers to not suspension to leave in Emmanuel Clase and Luis Ortiz for their gambling stuff. So I mean, the fact that they've been able to put together this push, they lost their all-star closer, an all-star pitcher, they lost Shane Bieber, who was going to be legit for them in the playoffs, right? And then you look to the flip side. In Detroit, they went and traded for guys, and it just didn't work out. They traded for guys like Chris Paddock, a starter from Minnesota. He failed out. They didn't really. He has like a 4 ERA now. Charlie Morton DFA'd the other day. The only move they made was Kyle Finnegan that worked. He's a reliever. He has a 1.15 ERA, but it's just so crazy to me the way that baseball works. That like the leadership in Detroit went out and tried to make the team better, tried to make good moves, and a lot of people thought these moves were going to work out, especially the Chris Paddock move, and it just didn't. And then on the flip side, the Guardians did nothing but sell, and now they're gonna make the playoffs somehow. It's just that's crazy to me, right? Like it's crazy how that happens. Like
No pun intended. That's just baseball.
yeah, it,
That's just baseball.
it's insane. I mean you look over to the other side and the NL, the Mets they started 45-24 over their first 69 games. Over the last 78 games, they're 31-47.
I mean,
And now
you can attribute that to a lot of things.
and it's going to be a tight division with the Reds because I believe the Reds have the tiebreaker in the division if that's a tie at the end of the year. So it's just it's tough. I mean there's only in this month there's only the Nationals, the Twins, and the Rockies have only had a worse record in the month of September than the Mets, I believe. It's just here's the one stat that does help the New York Mets. This is a stat I found on Twitter. They gave up 7 straight losses in June, 7 straight in August, and 7 straight in September. There's only been one team
That helps them.
that has had 3 separate 7+ game losing streaks and made the playoffs. And it was the 2006 World Series champion St. Louis Cardinals.
You can't bank on that. You
can't.
They're not even in playoff position right now.
No.
They cannot make the playoffs.
They need help.
They have no starting pitching.
Nope.
They're relying on 3. You can't even call them rookies. They're like pre-rookies at this point.
I mean, it's just
Their bullpen outside of Diaz is awful. They have no center fielder. They have no center fielder that can hit consistently. Their lineup is all over the place.
Yeah. Well, it to me it just shows that if you throw money at it, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to do anything with that, right? The Mets have one of the highest salaries in all of MLB. The Guardians have one of the lower salaries in all of the game of baseball. In all likelihood, the Guardians will make the playoffs over the big bad Mets, who have the $300 million payroll. Obviously, I know that's not the fairest of statistic. The Dodgers are, top 5 in
Don't even get me started on the
Yankees
Dodgers.
are top 5 in salary. The Padres, right? They're all going to make the playoffs. But just because you spend the money doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna make the playoffs and you're gonna find success.
Yeah, and I know there's definitely a certain guy on the Mets, a little upset that he went across the subway
Yeah.
to not even be in playoff position.
Yeah.
But anyway, speaking of that other team across the subway, there's been a lot of discourse on who the American League MVP is.
Sure.
And I've got to be honest with you, Gavin. It's stupid discourse because there's quite literally no other viable option for the American League MVP than Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge is the American League MVP.
It just feels like no matter how the Yankees go, Aaron Judge is hitting well, right? It doesn't matter how the Yankees do. He is the team. And I feel like, I understand the argument of Cal Raleigh. The guy goes out there and catches pretty much every day, and he goes and hits 50-plus home runs. First time a switch hitter's done that in the game of baseball.
That's not even to discredit the season that Cal Raleigh is having.
A great season, and he should be the unanimous second place.
60
100%.
home runs and playing 157 games and counting as a catcher is phenomenal. No one's taking that away from Cal Raleigh. But we're talking about Aaron Judge.
And I think the other thing that hurts Cal Raleigh and really helps Aaron Judge is the fact of the market size. Again. Are they going to award it to the guy out in Seattle or the guy out in New York, the biggest market, arguably, in the game of baseball? It's probably going to go to the guy in New York.
I don't even think it comes down to that. I think it just comes down to the fact that Aaron Judge is playing better baseball.
However, do you think there's, I remember, last NBA season there was a lot of discourse around Nikola Jokic if there's voter fatigue in the fact that, Aaron Judge has won, 2 MVPs now in his career, at least one, right? So is there any voter fatigue in this guy's already won one and, he puts these numbers up every year, whereas Cal Raleigh, Cal Raleigh's going to be great. He's going to have a great career. I'm not saying he's not going to put these numbers up next year, but this is the first time he's having these numbers in his career. Is there any voter fatigue, do you think?
You can absolutely make a case for voter fatigue, but at the same time, you're looking at generational talents, and you're looking at the numbers they've put up. And, for voter fatigue, you look at the National League, Shohei Ohtani is the unanimous MVP. No one's even arguing that.
That is very
So
true.
I don't and there's guys in the National League having great seasons, but they're just not as good as Shohei
No,
Ohtani.
because and especially now that Otani's back on the mound, I mean, yeah. So I guess that is true. That is a very good point. I didn't even think about the fact that like yeah, they have voted Otani the last however many seasons.
Which
So
leads me to my next point. Cal Riley's having a phenomenal season. No one's trying to take that away from him, but he's just not as good as Aaron Judge.
yeah,
I mean, looking at the numbers,
yeah.
Aaron Judge is a 9.5 WAR this season at the time of recording versus
just-
Cal Riley's 7.2.
And that's crazy even for a catcher too, because catchers, I mean, they have defensive assists and throwing guys out at second
Right.
base, so it's not just like oh, Aaron Judge is getting some outfield assists and like
And Judge didn't even
he
play in
can't
the
throw.
outfield for like a
He
month and
can't-
a half.
and he can't throw really when he does go out there. Like yeah, so I mean to see what Judge has done, and Judge took right a 10-day break essentially because of the elbow injury. I mean, and he just back out there didn't miss a step. I mean. Yeah,
And I mean, looking deeper at the number, yes, Raleigh has Judge on home runs and RBI, but if you have more home runs, you're gonna have more RBI. That's kind of a given. He has him on stolen bases by 2. Neither of those guys stealing a
stealing
base
bases.
is gonna
Yeah.
affect. First of all, they're not stealing bases to
No.
begin with, and if they do steal a base, doesn't really affect the outcome of the game. Because
and
I'd
every
say
manager is going.
right, because I'd say more than half the time that Judge has a stolen base this season, it was runners in the corners.
Oh,
He steals
100%.
second.
Yeah,
Because
no.
that's just what he does.
Or
That's the Aaron
it's
Judge
a
special.
defensive indifference of like, yeah, just go, dude. Like,
But then looking at the splits, Judge has a 330 batting average, 458 OBP, 687 slugging, 1.144 OPS, and a 215 OPS plus.
yeah, I don't see how it's not Judge. I mean, I don't know. It's 215 OPS plus is just
MLB first
ridiculous.
team nod for Cal Riley unanimously. Runner up for MVP, no brainer. He's just not the MVP.
yeah. And again, I think the fact that New York is such a big market is gonna hurt Raleigh. I just think that it's a game of media and who the voters are, and it's going to be the biggest markets are going to have the most votes, unfortunately. I mean, and then that gets us into our our next conversation of another MVP like we were just talking about, and Shohei Ohtani. So in the MLB, there's the rule that MLB put in place for Shohei Ohtani was if he starts a game on the mound, he can be pulled from the mound as a starter while remaining as a DH.
Which the fact that they made that rule
Which
specifically
it's just
for him is
It's funny as hell, yes. But so Ohtani has been kind of slowly coming back. He's only pitched about 4 or 5 innings at his max.
Did he go 6
season.
innings the other day that I
think
saw?
that might have been his
He had-
first one.
He topped out at like 90 pitches, I think.
But they don't want to use him in that role come playoff time because they don't think he's going to be stretched out enough for it. So because of that, he might not be the start. So there's a couple different options. If Shohei enters the game as a reliever, when he's done pitching, he's also done hitting, and that would mean they lose the designated hitter spot, so a pitcher would then have to hit for the remainder of that game.
I've heard people call Clayton Kershaw one of the best hitting pitchers. Maybe just throw him in there where
And
you
if
need
you
a
put
hit.
Ohtani in for the close, he might not have to necessarily get pulled. Like if you put him in for the 7th inning, he can pitch 7, 8, 9, and then the game's over.
I never really thought about that, having him being the closing guy, because they need a closer, because Tanner Scott.
He's done it before. He struck out Mike Trout in the World Baseball Classic, so he's done it in like a high tense situation. The other one is he can just start the game, and whenever he gets pulled, he can still hit, even if he just goes simply an inning.
Which, and I know you've watched more Dodgers games than me
Yeah.
this year, but I think they should do that, because you've already got Kershaw and Sasaki coming out of the pen. Just have Shohei start. His last start of the season, I'm blanking on the exact numbers, but I think he went 6 innings, gave up 5 hits, scoreless.
Well, and here's the thing too. Even if you make it, you could piece it together, make it a quote bullpen game. Go Ohtani 3, Sasaki 3, and Kershaw 3. There's your 9 innings, and if one of them gets shelled, you got a guy to pick up the slack.
Or have Sasaki or Kershaw start, which I don't know if that's a great idea per se.
Kershaw's been pretty solid this year, though. But yeah, I mean,
And then have Ohtani
Kershaw
close
playoffs,
out the last 3 innings.
yeah. They could also just have him hit. Nah, boring.
Why don't you want Shohei Ohtani to just hit?
That's boring. Nobody wants that. Or he can DH, then he can move to the reliever role, and then when he's done playing relief, he can go play in the outfield.
Which he has said he's been open to.
Which he is open to. He played 7 games in the outfield with the Angels in 2021, 6 in right, 1 in left. So he has experience out there. He was an all-star on the mound. He was an all-star with the bat. You don't want to lose either one of them. What do you think the best outcome is?
I think you've got to start him. I know that the bullpen has been much more shaky than the starting rotation, but again, this is a generational talent. You're trying to go back to back in the World Series. You've had well, I'll be honest, for what the expectations were, a less than stellar year.
Yeah.
You've got to put your best guys out on the field to get you in the best position to win.
Well, and I think too, the thing to me is he's getting paid a lot of money, right? I mean, he deserves it, don't get me wrong, but he's getting paid a lot of money. You got to use him in every way you can use him in the playoffs if he's getting paid what he gets paid, right? So to me, I think you got to either put him in as the DH and go the reliever and outfield route, or start him, go 2 innings, and do that. And I'm sure that's a conversation that's being had right now at Dodger Stadium amongst the Dodgers brass, because I mean, this is an important decision for them, but you got to have him out there, and especially this organization wants to win a World Series more than ever. It's Clayton Kershaw's last year. The what he's meant to the organization, I think he kind of said, "Hey, I'm retiring," to kind of put a little bit more pressure on, like, "Hey, let's go get it. Like, let's go finish the job. Get me another ring, and let me ride off into the sunset with a championship."
Do it for Kersh.
So I think
don't do it for Kersh, because I want the Yankees to win, but do it for Kersh.
I think either start Ohtani or put him in the outfield. I think that's the best option. And speaking of how we might watch these playoffs in the years coming, obviously minor league baseball finished up. They wrapped up last weekend, so not really any more minor league promotions to talk about. So I figured we could talk about the new MLB media rights deal. It was just announced, I think yesterday or Thursday afternoon, that the Yankees and Giants will open up the 2026 season on Netflix, as well as Netflix will have the MLB Home Run Derby next year. So this will mean that now the Yankees will have games on the following channels: Yes Network, Amazon Prime, NBC/Peacock, ESPN, TNT, Fox, Netflix. That's 7 different channels of distribution for the Yankees games.
I'm all for Yankees games and really any baseball games being on Netflix. I mean, it makes it much more accessible.
Yep.
And we've seen in recent months, recent years, Netflix is starting to have more live sporting events.
Yeah,
I mean,
UFC.
we've seen it with the UFC, Canelo Crawford fight,
Oh my God,
WWE Monday Night Raw moved to Netflix recently, including their pay-per-views for overseas viewers. A lot of people have Netflix. More people have Netflix than cable television in this day and age. So I love that we have more options on where to watch it, more accessible options on how and where to watch it, and just the Netflix production. It's a good watch.
Yeah.
It's a clean watch.
The only thing that worries me, and I have a couple points on this. The only thing that worries me is breaking it up into so many different, Amazon, Yes, Peacock, all these different things that people have to buy. I gotta go buy Hulu for this. I gotta go buy Yes for this. I gotta go buy, whatever for this. I gotta go buy, right? So I just worry that it's gonna be harder for people to watch the games. But I also think the decision makers within MLB have, in the last few years, really been focusing on getting access to both media, to the people like John Boy and those brands out there who want to post their content, as well as just allowing people to watch the games. I mean, ESPN is also part of this big MLB media package, and they're going to stream 5 teams' games exclusively over the next 3 years, as well as 30 regular season games that aren't on Sunday. Because ESPN was always Sunday Night Baseball. It's not going to be on Sunday. But I really liked, it was just announced the other day, SNLA, the Dodgers provider, is teaming up with MLB to provide blackout-free coverage for the year.
I
on
couldn't
MLB
even
TV.
watch. I couldn't even watch a Mets game the other
Yeah,
day. I
because
got
we're at
blacked
Stadium
out
Park.
from a Mets game.
The one that bothers me, and I don't want to get into blackouts. We all hate blackouts, but Pittsburgh with the
Yeah.
Pirates. Whenever the Yankees go play the Pirates, we get blacked out of it. No matter where I am, whether I'm home in Buffalo or I'm here. I'm not going to drive up to Pittsburgh.
even here, we're so close to the Pennsylvania border. For reference,
Yeah,
St.
we are
Bonaventure
close.
University, the closest it is to the nearest Pennsylvania border is like 10 minutes, give or take.
Yeah.
And we get blacked out from Pittsburgh
games. It's annoying. Yeah. So, I mean, to me, anything you can do to get more people watching baseball. I mean, we've seen over the last few years with all the content that Netflix has been doing with baseball. I think the comeback about the Red Sox World Series push.
Which, what an
Clubhouse.
What an awful season to pick when they could have done this season in hindsight.
Yep, Clubhouse. All these different baseball things. And so they're really making the push into live sports. And, I'm excited. I'm excited to see, I'm excited to see especially how Netflix covers the MLB Home Run Derby. Because I feel like over the last few years, there's been a lot of complaints about it because the camera work isn't always the best. Sometimes it's like, which is hard. It's a home run derby.
The camera work, who they pick to sing the national anthem.
Like, it's very hard to follow a home run derby because it's just one swing after another. But I'm very interested to see if they change anything with how they cover it. But, I'm excited to see baseball grow into these new avenues, even into NBC and Peacock, that deal. It's so great. And I mean, $550 million a year for the next 3 years for MLB. Not a bad chunk of change.
Anything but Apple TV. I hate Apple TV broadcasts. I can't stand it.
Yeah.
I hate how the reporters wear the AirPod Pro Maxes. It looks stupid.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, I don't know if I told you this. I was telling the other guys earlier. The Tigers broadcast last night, they used iPhone 17 Pro Maxes exclusively as the cameras.
To shoot the game?
To shoot the game. It was shot exclusively with iPhone 17 Pro Maxes.
Whoa. That's so cool.
Because the camera quality is just that good on those iPhones.
What? That's crazy. Dang, we might got to get one of those, Jack.
We might have to get one of those.
We
might have to upgrade.
We're going to end this episode, go over to Verizon
but nonetheless, we're going to go look at the prices on some iPhone 17 Pro Maxes. Thank you for watching Inside the Inning, as always, brought to you by Afterthought Sports. For Gavin Watson, I'm Jack Haskell. We'll see you next week. Go Yanks.
Go Yanks.